Welcome to the full FX Unfiltered, this edition in association with Loop FX. And I'm delighted to be joined by an old friend, Simon Wilson-Taylor, who is co-founder and chief strategy officer of Loop FX. Simon, great to have you on the video. Nice to talk to you again. I hate to think how many times we have spoken over the years.
Don't count. Please don't count.
Exactly. I guess my first question for you is probably related to that. Obviously, you've had great success in this space over your career. You've built several initiatives that are still going strong. Why on earth are you going again, man?
Because I'm as mad as you think I am, probably. Yeah. No, it's just sort of in the DNA. I mean, I've been doing innovative startups since long before we met, Colin, and that was a long time ago. So, I got involved in the 1980s in a startup in the UK that took on the UK banks for corporate lending. And, I've done a lot of other things since outside FX, including equities, fixed income platforms, venues, and, my FX career with State Street, UBS, and my own startup. So it's in the DNA. I can't stop it. It's just there.
Fair enough. And I think, there are some of us built like that, aren't there? So how did this Loop FX come about? I mean, obviously, co-founder Blair Hawthorne and you, I assume have worked together before in some capacity, but how did it come about?
Well, we haven't worked together before.
Oh, right.
Blair we knew each other. He was a senior trader at Aberdeen Asset Management. But when he left Aberdeen, he left because he wanted to explore his ideas for a novel peer-to-peer solution. He'd been sitting in client events, client conferences. He'd been looking at his own situation as a trader, and he was somewhat concerned that on his largest trades, he had limited visibility into where he should try and place that risk. You could see from your broker stats how who performed well for you in the past, but at that instant you had no idea who had a position that would suit what you were trying to do. And so he thought about how to do that, and he led him in a peer-to-peer direction. And as part of that, he talked to a lot of people, and along the way, it was actually Gil Mendelzis who said to him, "This is a great idea, but you've really got to talk to Simon. If you can get it by him, then you've got something." So, which is a huge compliment, of course. But Blair called me, and what was supposed to be a half an hour chat ended up being over 3 hours. And I was enormously skeptical. I mean, I've thought about peer-to-peer for decades, and I've done versions of it in other asset classes, and also seen slivers of it in things like orders crossing orders in ECNs. And I know how difficult it is, especially when you're looking at larger orders. So we talked for 3 hours. We kicked the tires really hard, and at the end of that 3 hours, I was convinced that we had something that was worth pursuing. Right. Now, part of that, I'll be honest, was that I had also been working on a different stealth project, looking at peer-to-peer from a distributed ledger technology point of view, and I'd already kind of discounted that avenue, but I had elements of my thinking that we were able to apply to what we've done in the Loop. So it was a good, very good, challenging start, but we decided to work together and pull this off.
Good, because I mean, I'm glad you mentioned a degree of skepticism there, because I have to confess, publicly, I've said before, I think there's a problem around peer-to-peer, but then you guys are coming at it in a slightly different fashion, aren't you?
Well, I think that's the real story here, is that although we do talk about peer-to-peer as being part of what we do, that's really not the core value proposition. I mean, what we saw was that the issues that the buy side face in deciding where to place their large positions are only amplified when you come to considering the position of a bank that has a large position to move. Any time they try to they can either sit on it and just internalize it and take however long it takes before that gets dealt with, but inevitably they're probably going to have to go outside. And as soon as you show anything, an axe or anything else, you're giving away market information. The market's running away from you. So it's the banks have the same issue. And when you take a step back from there to who the bank's customers are in the first place, there's a large universe of people out there trying to get large positions moved. And so by putting the banks in the middle of our process and what we call peer-to-peer to bank, it's still a misnomer. It's a dark pool for handling large spot trades. And the way we've structured it enables us to get access to we believe sort of 80% or so of the large orders anywhere in the world. And that takes us out from being a peer-to-peer solution to being something else much greater than that. I mean, my math is going to be off, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who criticize what I'm about to say. But if you think about the fact that asset managers are roughly 1/6 of the spot market, maybe, buy side 1/6 of the spot market. If you think about the buy side trying to match against the buy side, the possibility of matching is probably the square of a sixth, so about 1/36, around 3%. If we can get to 80% of the market as having the ability to place into the dark pool through involvement of the banks, then it's the square of 80%, which is about 65 to 64%, about 2/3. So you're 20 times the chance of actually finding a match. So you're moving from something where you're right to be very skeptical to something which is actually very practical. And that was the conclusion we came to. And we modeled this with simulators, with all kinds of stuff to support the evidence behind this.
But then surely the thing that actually puts the icing on top has to be the fact that you have access to large bank risk positions that they want to exit as well.
Yeah, it's the large bank positions and positions that people are wanting to work through banks, and banks gives banks another avenue to be able to check the loop, see whether there's a potential match in there as part of their execution of large orders, whether that's an agency execution or an algo execution of some other kind.
Yeah, I find the idea fascinating because I think obviously dark pools have something of a bad name in certain markets. Fun enough, not in FX, where you could argue that a lot of time it's a dark pool, particularly with who you're dealing with. But I think they have proven popular in equities in particular, haven't they, with large institutional managers who are looking for a lack of market impact.
Well, you see dark pools in almost every asset class except FX. And equities have many of them, and they're well structured, well ordered, and frankly well liked. I think there's a lot of evidence now. Even the regulators are saying, most of them anyway, are saying that dark pools have a positive impact on the market. We see it in futures. There's an upstairs market, and so it's time there was one in FX, and this is what we're hopefully bringing to bear soon.
Okay, and that's so basically then your core differentiator you're looking at is the additional liquidity and that kind of dark mechanism on a broader participant basis.
Yeah, that's the starting of it. I mean, we also had to solve other problems in order to have a viable business. Yeah, one of the big lessons I've learned over the time I've been doing this is that it's all very well having a good idea, but you actually have to be connected to the other parts of the market. And in this day and age, banks in particular have a massive technology deficit, and almost all of their tech resources in most cases are being devoted to dealing with regulatory issues rather than innovation. And any innovation they want to do hopefully is going to be their own rather than other people's. So when we come along and say, we've got this great idea, and they say they agree, by the way, the banks, everyone we've spoken to so far has supported the idea and are very interested in being part of it. But getting the right level of prioritization to get into the work streams, to get connected, is a challenge everywhere. And luckily we've budgeted for that. But it's a long journey.
Yeah. So I mean, how much of it then has been about building understanding with the stakeholders of exactly what you're offering? Because we've said before there are problems with peer-to-peer, particularly I think I would say when you get into the banking world, They look at it as a threat. So how much of it of your job so far has been building understanding of what the Loop FX model actually is?
Almost all of it, I would say. I mean, quite apart from the fact we've actually been building the product and we've built it and the technology is ready to go. I mean, that's obviously kept us fairly busy as well. Yeah. But yeah, we're in 3 or 4 meetings a day, every day, talking to asset managers, banks, central banks, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds. You know, we're talking to the market as a whole. We're obviously focused on those people who have the largest positions to move and the most of them. We're focused on macro players rather than high frequency players for obvious reasons. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a journey that we started on. You know, we've been in stealth mode for probably over a year, probably 15 months or so. We were in stealth mode before we even announced who we were, and during that time, we were doing 3 or 4 meetings a day, every day. Yeah. And so it's been a constant education journey. It hasn't been difficult, though, frankly. You know, we're very pleased to say that the conversations we're having with people every day are very positive ones, and people come away from it at the end of the meeting saying, "Yeah, this is pretty good."
Yeah. I mean, I guess from my point of view, I always look at these things and say it's in the rules. And you mentioned there, you know, you're not going for high frequency trading, and the success or otherwise to me comes down to the rules of matching and who's allowed on there. You know, because it's all about protecting information, isn't it? At the end of the day, what we're looking at is protecting the client information.
Yes, certainly. Protecting the trades they're trying to do, and not disclosing it in any way, and there is obviously the challenge of how to avoid people phishing. And the natural tendency, first of all, is to say, well, you know, that class of customer is bad, and therefore we must exclude that type of customer. And frankly, in some of our early conversations with long-only asset managers, they said, oh yeah, we don't want to be in a dark pool with hedge funds. No hedge funds, none. Right. Well, then we began talking to them about saying, well, banks themselves also behave badly from time to time. I mean, not badly anymore, but you know, a bank may set itself up in such a way to connect to us that it could be phishing. They still hopefully have an intent to trade, but they might be trading in smaller size in order to see whether there's an interest on that side. So we've had to devise rules that apply to everybody, and doesn't mean we're going to let everybody in. I mean, when we talk to hedge funds, even they are very clear that they don't want their systematic traders to be trading in our environment because they know it would be bad. So they're longer term positions that they often building over hours or days. Are the types of things that could be very valuable to this environment because they have a natural, large, one-sided interest and are able to place orders for long periods of time that people can match against. So it's been a journey of education, going back to the buy side again, of them understanding that that's healthy for the ecosystem if we bring in the right kind of people, but set the rules properly to prevent bad behavior.
Yeah, without doubt. I'm fascinated as well. I mean, obviously, we started by talking about we'll call it a reasonably long journey that's got a long way to go. How has the technology changed? I mean, everyone talks about technology change. Has there been, you know, a radical change in technology when you come to look to build the Loop compared to maybe previous project?
Not anything that is making a meaningful change in our product design, cost, or time to market. I mean, there are obviously steps up in technology all the time, but we're using very good technology that's designed for big data analysis to be able to operate our environment in a very robust way, and also when necessary to support required surveillance that we will have to do at some point. but the friction is at the edges. The friction is the connectivity to the buy-side systems and the sell-side systems, and technology hasn't yet made a difference there, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I guess it's being built fairly. The platform's being built to be scaled. If these changes come, I guess you can adopt them.
Oh yeah, we've definitely built for scale, and we've built for scale, and also to move not only across the spectrum of the spot FX market, but also non-spot FX ultimately, and outside FX as well. We can scale in all directions.
Well, certainly markets are converging in the way they behave to a degree. I think correlations are on the up still. So I guess, yes, you do have that transferability, don't you? As always, Simon, great to talk to you. Good luck with the loop. And
thank you.
Hopefully we'll be speaking again soon, discussing exactly how it is working and how everyone's trading on it and everything. Hopefully everything's great.
We're confident, but not stupid. So yes, thank you, Colin. It's been great to talk to you.
That's always a good approach. It's that second bit I struggle with sometimes. There we go. Anyway, to our viewers, thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back again soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.